Wanted to ask you a little bit about how the mechanism of his shot works. We know he can shoot it. He can do whatever he wants with it, it seems like, but how? What have you seen from that in the last couple of years where he just is able to put the puck wherever he wants it? It seems like.
I don't have a great answer to that, with the exception of for as great of a shot as it is, he always works on it and tries different things in practice. So his creativeness of looking to find more ways of being deceptive to a goalie, and I think that's where his strength is. I think goalies, like even our goalies that have been against him now for 2 years, sorry, this year because they're all new, sorry, 1 year. But even if they've been there the full year, they can't get a read on where the puck's coming off and where it's going to be released from and things like that. So I think he's just so creative on working on trying to become trickier, trying to not be able to allow the goalie to know when it's coming off his blade, where it's going to be going when it does. So I think that deception or that ability to disguise his shot is really, really impressive. And then I mentioned again, what I'm really impressed by is his skating ability, his mobility, and his hip movement to be able to position himself so he can turn his body whichever way he needs to, wherever the puck and wherever the space is. And it also, what he does do is he hides the puck from defenders by being able to protect it in different ways, because he's got a shorter stick, so the puck's going to be closer to him than most players. So you think it would be easier for them to defend, but they can't get sticks on it when he's in tight areas because he's so elusive that way. I'd ask goalies that, what do you see differently coming off Cole's stick than other guys' stick? When I watch him in practice and I see him, make a shot high glove, and I thought he was going low blocker. I thought he was going to fake and go 5-hole. Like he's very deceptive and unpredictable. Like I think that's the other thing too. You're just not sure when he's going to release it. You hold it, and all of a sudden, boom. So, the greatest shooter that I played with, Luke Robitaille was one. It was different. Joe Sakic is the closest thing because of his release, but it was always predictable. Right where Joe had a programmed idea when he got the puck where it was going to go. Cole, I think, just had so many more options and so many more different, hand skills to put the puck in different places.
You guys get that first game of the tournament, which means a lot of people are going to be watching and a lot of people are going to see that. Does that get you a little bit excited too, that you're going to be the game that everyone's watching, like you were that first game of the season at Notre Dame, because that was the first game of college hockey? You're the first game of the NCAA tournament. That's got to be a little intriguing for you too.
I know we'd much rather play that game than have to wait around. It was for the Big Ten tournament, even waiting around just an extra day was hard for our guys. We want to play, and now we know what time like you said, the early game, the first game. We'll get there a few days before we're leaving tomorrow. We'll get settled in, get a practice in on that sheet of ice, and I think it's fantastic. For our guys to have an opportunity, and it's not so much that everybody's going to be watching; it's just the fact that the Big Ten tournament's starting and we're in the first game.
So Tony, when you're, just from your experience, when you're dealing with somebody that can shoot like Cole, how do you go about trying to defend that? Whether you're a defenseman, if you're a forward you're playing man to man, whatever your defensive system may be, how do you defend that?
Well, I'm sure he's part of every pregame speech, hey, aware when eight's on the ice. But what you do with that and how you're going to say, try to contain him, try to keep him to the outside, try to make sure you don't have a turnover, make him play 200 feet. You're going to use the standard lines that you'd say to try to defend him. But once, he gets the puck in the offensive zone, I really don't know. I'd say collapse at the net and say if he's going to beat you, he's got to shoot through 2 or 3 sticks, try to keep him to the outside. I'm assuming that's what most coaches say, but again, his elusiveness and also the skills that he's playing with, the guys that are on the ice with him. If you play it a certain way and you're only aware of 8, and you got the other 2 guys in this line that are so elusive and speed with Linus and the hands that Weiser has and the plays that he makes, you're playing yourself into another problem. So I think that those guys have used each other well. I think that the speed that Linus has on that line and the playmaking ability that Beiser has, it makes it really hard for them to have a special game plan to try to shut him down.
Going back to Linus, what have you seen from him in terms of his development? Because I feel like he easily can get lost in the shuffle when you're talking about Cole and other players on the team. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. My puppy's going crazy.
That's okay. Linus this year, and Todd and Brian and everybody from back here in Madison know the story. Was uncertain on whether or not he was going to come back, just from the standpoint that he had chances to sign professionally and potentially stay in Sweden. And with the uncertainty of whether or not we were playing and when our start date was, we really didn't know he was coming back till the last minute. And some of the conversations we had with him coming into the season were, for him to play in the NHL, the more things that he can show that he's capable of doing, the better chance he would have professionally. So one of the things was play the power play at the top and see if you can become a guy that can be the quarterback of the power play. You're going to have weapons all over the ice with you, but it's a big responsibility for a player to have never been in that position to handle that kind of assignment. And I don't want to jinx that unit, but they've played tremendously responsible. When you got 5 forwards on the ice, you always worry about teams trying for shorthanded goal. Minnesota had a chance last game. And I think the only goal we gave up this year shorthanded was against Arizona State. So he's done a remarkable job of not only making that power play special and giving Cole and Dylan and Beiser and moments and making great plays and all that, but I think the defensive part he just handled really, really well. So I think he's taking on more responsibility. I think he's been really consistent. I think his couple games, in the playoffs so far, were a little bit inconsistent considering what he's done all year. But he's been a great player for us, and like we said, we're talking about Cole as being the big goal scorer, but the guys around him are making each other better. And I've given Cole that compliment this year, saying he's become one of those players that is starting to affect and help other players around him become great. And I think Linus has had that same impact on Cole. So those two have fed off of each other, and he's somewhat overlooked in the big big picture, because the other two guys are getting a lot of the attention. But Linus has had a spectacular year.
Hey, Coach, Jack Goods here from up. Oh, sorry, go. Yeah, just Jack Goods here from up in Eau Claire. I was just wondering if you could speak a little about the impact Ty Everson and Stam Stang have had this year in helping you guys get to this point.
Sure. MB's been our captain. I think, he was the player that at the end of last year took on a tremendous leadership even before he was announced captain, to try to, keep the morale of our team up, because we were coming off of a real disappointing year. And when you have high expectations like we did last year, and it's a failure, you need somebody in the room that you can trust, that's going to find bright spots and find lessons to be learned from what happened last year that we would be able to apply moving forward. And without him and without his leadership, it would have been really difficult to do for our team and for our coaching staff. So I think that's the greatest compliment you can have to a player, is that he's understands and he's willing to take on a role like we needed. And really, from a captaincy point, it is everything that you could ever want from your captain. How he plays, how he handles tough situations, how he can calm the bench down when things are going a little bit sideways. How he can and it's not necessarily him holding him accountable, but it's him playing to a standard and holding himself accountable that kind of makes guys around him feel the importance of not wanting to let down their leader. And I think that part has been outstanding. And you think about it, he's only a junior, And so I think and his play's been solid. He's been rock solid, defensively for us. He's contributed a little bit offensively for us, but he's had a sensational year as well. And Sam's just a solid, strong, power forward type of player that plays the game the right way. He doesn't put you in penalty, problems by running guys over and being, stupid. He plays extremely smart for a young player. I think he's starting to continue to grow as a player and gain confidence in what skills he does have. He's got great speed, great shot. He had a really good start offensively to us, and then then he's hasn't scored, but he's played a real effective role on our team. And I think watching him this the last couple of days in practice, I think that these are games where he could step up and make some really big plays for us and continue to be a big part of our team. So they've both been great student athletes. They both do phenomenal in the classroom. They are model citizens for just being great kids. So they're both huge parts of our program.
Tony, for this team that's had so much success this season, all the things you guys have accomplished, for this roster, for the most part, none of these guys have played in an NCAA tournament, except for maybe Robbie at Tech or Beiser when he was at Harvard. What's your message for them as you get ready for this next step, this next level of play? And also, what do you think is going to be key for you guys to be success in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I think that, our goal at the start of the year was to get to this tournament. Our goal was to continue to get better as a team and pull together as a team as the year went along. We've accomplished that. So I think we're set up for success based on how we played all year. We've talked 1,000 times over about the different challenges that we've had during the year that we faced head on, and we're able to get through them in pretty good shape. And we're talking about penalties during games. We're talking about guys missing out of our lineup, playing with a short bench, things like that. I think that's all pulled us together and helped us grow as a group. So from that standpoint, I think we're going that way. And I know the loss against Minnesota was disappointing. We really wanted to win a second trophy and win the Big Ten playoffs. Minnesota was great that night, and they deserved to beat us. We made some, we had a little bit of a hiccup there in the second period that cost us, a game, but you saw how we played in the third period to come close. We had them, off balance there for the whole period and almost came back and put ourselves in a position to win that game. So that's been our fight all year. We know that the 16 teams left are all really, really good hockey teams, but we've faced every good team the same way. We try to not sit back and watch. We try to get on the attack and make them have to defend us. So we'll have that same mentality. And the team we're playing on Friday is a physical team. They finish their checks. They grind it out pretty good. They're a pretty solid team, from watching the few games that we've been able to look at so far. So they'll be a great opponent, a great way to start, the playoffs. It'll be high energy. The intensity will be just like it's been when we go into Minnesota, we go into Notre Dame, we go into Penn State, we go into Michigan. It doesn't matter. In our conference, all of these games have helped us get ready for this opportunity. Some of the games we've won, whether they be at Notre Dame, whether they've been at Michigan State, that last game, you have to be committed to understanding you win the games by competing for loose pucks and loose battles and winning races and paying a price for victory. And I think that is clearly understood. We're not going to go out there and just drop the puck and just go out there and play a pond hockey game and have success. We're going to have to stick our nose in there. We're going to have to be ready to battle and win our battles. We're going to have to be ready on faceoffs to battle for puck possession. We're going to have to establish net front position at their net. We're going to have to box out at ours. There's all those simple things that make good hockey teams. When you play great opponents, you have to be willing to pay a price, for success. And I think all we've done this year and the places that we've gone and the challenges that we've had, we've answered the bell. Our guys understand and know what that is. And there will be no exception to that. It's not going to be an end-to-end game where it's going to be, open up where it's going to be a 3-on-2, 1 win, a 3-on-0. We're going to have to, grind it out and win battles to get our offense up and running. And once we get going, like we did to Minnesota in the third period, a lot of times when you get going and flow like that, you get teams standing around trying to figure out how to defend. And that'll be what we're hoping to do, hopefully earlier than the third period when we start the game on Friday.
Any change in plans for goalie? Robbie start Friday or anything different there?
I didn't talk to either of the goalies, but we're going to stay that same rotation. Robbie, I thought Robbie, we needed him to come in Friday because we needed a change just to slow the game down. I thought Cam, was fine in that game. He didn't cost us any goals, but that was a hard game to play. The puck was going east-west a lot in the zone, and we needed to take a way to slow that momentum down. And Robbie came in and looked sharp. But we'll go back to that same thing. Both goalies will play this week.
You get into a weekend like this, and that's another time when it's a luxury, isn't it? Where you have guys you can count on and you believe in back to back whenever you need them, if you need to throw them in at any particular point.
Yeah, correct. And the good thing is I think we're coming in this series, you're talking on the goaltender side of thing, but health-wise, all the guys that were banged up, got a weekend, got a couple games in, at Notre Dame. So they got their legs under them. I think it'll help, all those guys. They played 2 fast-paced games against Penn State and Minnesota. When we're talking about Lenmark, Orlicki, and Inamoto. And, another week of practice, they'll be back in mid-season form and ready to go. And like you said, on the goaltender side of things, both of these guys have been very reliable and dependable and very confident on here.
And everyone else is healthy right now, available to you?
Okay. Yep. Everybody was out on the ice for practice today, and we're feeling good about how everybody's doing.
I saw that Dylan didn't take any face-offs against Minnesota and only had 5 against Penn State. Was that a tactical thing, or was that just was he battling something that he just didn't want him putting the strain of a face-off on him for a while?
If I say tactical, I'd be lying, so I won't say tactical. So he was bumped up a little bit, and Brock's been really good on face-offs as well. And once they switched there, we said stay that way for the second game as well. So, whether or not we'll have them take face-offs this weekend or not, I don't know that for sure. But both those guys are capable, and Dylan and Brock, of taking draws. And as we get closer to the game, we'll see what we're going to do on that.
Brock,
Tony,
go ahead, Brian.
No, I was going to say, Tony, you threw Cole in there a little bit at center too in the third period. Is he capable of playing that position, do you think, now and even obviously now, but as his career moves along? Or would you rather, is he better suited on the outside?
I think he's better suited on the outside, but that was just a situation where we were getting him on the ice as much as possible.
Right.
In that situation, you look at the 3 guys. You don't really go by position when you're trying to create offense like that. You just look at the 3 guys you think can get out there.
Sure.
Be the best chance to score. So I don't. If there was a face-off, would we had him out there to take a draw? Probably not. But could he play center in the NHL? Yeah, he could. I mean, if Montreal, when he gets there, asks him to play center, why not? But he's been a right wing, and most of the time in his career, he's been one of those guys where I think when he's most effective is when people don't know he's on the ice until he gets the puck in the offensive zone. When you play center, you're in the middle of the ice and you got the puck a lot coming up the ice, and that might not be the best position for him for just that reason. Because when the defenders are looking at puck carriers and it's not Cole and they're trying to figure out where he's at and how they're going to cover him, I think that's where he's at his best. I mean, it's kind of something that we just talked about, where he's elusive and figures out how to get to that space. So I don't think center would be his best position, but like I said, if they ask him to play center, he's going to go in there.